Hi there, another Saturday. God, they roll in quickly, don't they? I can't believe it, and what a fantastic week it's been. But I think only for the south of England. I read through some of my blog comments actually, and I know there were quite a few of you written to say that they are not having the same wonderful weather up in the north and northwest of England. So I'll keep my fingers and toes crossed that changes and you'll get some sunshine soon. But I've chosen another short story for you this evening, and thank you so much. I'm really glad you're enjoying these. I'm thoroughly enjoying reading them to you. We've chosen JoJo Moyes again from the book Paris for One, although I am now running out of stories. I thought this one was particularly appropriate. It's all to do with the fickle business that is television and also social media, and it's called Between the Tweets. So if you're sitting comfortably, I shall get my glasses on. God, I don't see how I'm looking like a badger these days, but I'm leaving the colour well alone. And if you are comfortable, I'll begin. I have a problem, the man said. Everyone who comes here has a problem, said Frank. The man swallowed. It's a woman. It usually is, said Frank. She claims that we've been having an affair, he said. Frank leaned back in his chair, pressing the tips of his fingers together. He'd liked to do that ever since his last secretary told him it made him look intelligent. Yes, they usually do. I sat in the corner, my gaze flickering between my coffee and the man's skin, trying to work out which shade was darker. This was beyond Werther's original. This was beyond Footballer's Wife. This was daytime television grade. And that's when I realised who it was. I haven't had a bloody affair, Declan Travis, former presenter of Rise and Shine, looked at Frank and then at me. Really? I haven't. Frank nodded. He usually did at this stage. It was a nod that managed to imply agreement while conveying that truth wasn't necessarily the issue. Nobody came to Frank Digger Associates unless he had something to hide. So, what do you want from us, Mr. Travis? Look, I'm a family man. My reputation is built on my wholesome image. I'm at a very sensitive stage in my career. You're in the business of reputation management. Well, I need you to make this go away. I can't have it in the papers. Frank turned slowly towards me and cocked an eyebrow. The papers are the least of your worries, I said. This is Bella, our resident geek. Sorry, digital manager, Frank explained. Reputation is an online issue these days, death by 1,000 pixels. It's a whole new world. Declan Travis blinked at me. He had assumed I was the secretary. OK, Mr. Travis, I said, opening my laptop. I need you to tell me everything you know about this woman. Email, Twitter handle, Facebook profile, Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp, the lot. He looked at me as if I was speaking Polish. They usually did. According to Travis, it had begun several weeks previously. His teenage son, who liked to fiddle about on computers, as he put it, had idly Googled his father's name and found a young woman with a lot to say. Her Twitter name was @blondebecker. Her profile picture consisted of 2 blue eyes and a peroxide fringe. It was impossible to get any accurate picture of her. I scrolled back through her tweets. Declan Travis, : not the family man he likes to make out. I was Declan Travis's lover for 2 years. Why won't anyone believe me? He likes to make out he's a family man, but he's a dirty, lying sex maniac. He's used me and he's ruined my life. What do you think? Frank came in behind me and stared at my screen. I frowned. Hard to say without her real name. I'll engage with her, I'll see if I can work out what's going on, and then I'll work out how to discredit her. Frank squinted, brushed crisp crumbs from my screen. Do we think she's telling the truth? I stared at @blondebecker's Twitter feed. She was one determined woman. I'm not sure he is, I said. I set up a new Twitter account under the name Alexis Carrington. It's a favourite. Nobody young enough to spend time on social media knows who she is. And then I sent, why should anyone believe you? The answer came back within minutes. Why would I lie? He's not been on TV for 2 years, and he's at least 20 years older than I am. She had a point. So what is this? I typed. Kiss and tell? Why not just sell your story straight to the tabloids? You can make 20k minimum. I don't want money, she replied. I just want the truth to come out. He seduced me. He promised me we'd be together. And then he dumped me. He's a fraud. He's a... At this point, she ran out of characters, but I got the gist. She had 13,000 followers. I checked the analytics, up from 6,005 days previously. It's not good, I told Frank. She doesn't want money. They all want money, he said. Not this one. I told her she could make 20k and she wasn't interested. He swore under his breath. Then we've got a live one. See if we can make her go away. If not, take it up a level. Travis rang that afternoon. 2 tabloid newspapers had called to quiz him about the rumours. The newspapers loved Twitter. There was no such thing as a slow news day if you could report Kerry Katona and the blonde one from Made in Chelsea battling it out in 140 characters. All they needed was a Declan Travis in a fair riddle headline, and they had a 500-word page lead and an excuse for a picture of a reality television model with her face blacked out. "They are camped outside my door," he yelled down the phone. "My wife's going nuts. My kids won't speak to me. My agent says this is killing negotiations with ITV too. You have got to do something." "We're issuing a statement," I said soothingly. "We'll deny everything and threaten to sue anyone who says otherwise. Secondly, we've set up your own Twitter account. We'll use this to put out positive messages, pictures of you with your family. And we're closing in on Becca. But, Mr. Travis..." I hesitated. It wasn't hard. I just opened a packet of bacon frazzles and the smell was frankly disarming. "What?" "Are you telling us everything? If you don't give us the full picture, we can't fight this for you." His voice was a whinny. "I am telling you the truth. I've got no idea who this woman is or why the hell she's trying to destroy my life." I don't know why I didn't believe him. It's not as if these kiss and tell girls didn't exist. All hair extensions and pole dancers' shoes, so desperate for attention that they would claim to have slept with the entire Sunday League for 2 weeks of fame, a couple of Lad Mag covers and a run on a reality show. But at Blonde Becca was different. I hadn't come up against anybody who cared about the truth before, and it made me nervous. By that evening, she had 28,000 followers. I direct messaged her. I typed, "I'm a friend of Declan's. I don't believe he slept with you. He's a good guy." That's what everyone wants to think, but I have proof. It's what he wants everyone to think too. I waited. He has a scar on his left buttock the same shape as E.T.'s head. When I put that detail to Declan, the colour actually drained from his face. "That could be anyone," he spluttered. "It could be my masseur. It could be the woman who does my spray tan." And then I told him about the other identifying feature she had mentioned, and Frank's eyebrows shot somewhere into his hairline, and he said that it was probably a little early in the day for a talk like that. Thank you. And then he decided to take Miss Travis out for a restorative drink. Declan Travis became a nightmare for Frank Digger Associates. 2 newspapers ran the story the following day. "TV's Mr. Clean in affair drama," said one headline. "Wife grim-faced as she leaves family home." Another said simply, "Dirty Declan," accompanied by a selection of pictures from his finer moments on breakfast television, mostly involving girls in bikinis. "We've got 48 hours before the broadsheets pick it up," Frank said, scratching his head. They would run features titled, "Why do men find it so hard to stay faithful anymore?" Travis, meanwhile, was apoplectic. He was chewing Valium like they were Smarties. His agent was on the phone 14 times a day. At Blonde Becca had 54,000 followers. I spent 2 days creating fake Twitter accounts to contradict her. Frank glared at me. "It's code red," he said. "Will he pay?" I said. "Oh, he'll pay," said Frank. I rang Buzz. "I need you to trace an account," I whispered. "The usual terms." 3 hours later, when he called me back, I scribbled the address onto my pad. And then I sat back and I stared at what I'd just written. She was online that afternoon. I sat in the car and I tapped the Twitter app on my phone. "Hello, Becca," I messaged her. "Do you believe me now?" she wrote. "Yes, I believe you slept with Declan Travis. Perhaps we could talk about this further. I told you I'm not interested in going to the papers. I don't care what they're saying. I wasn't talking about the papers. Come out to the car. I'm parked right outside your house. Sally Travis was the kind of blonde who would once have been called perky, had passed through foxy, and could now be described as well-preserved and probably lusted after quietly by the chairman of the golf club. She opened the door of my car, waited while I brushed the crumbs off the passenger seat, and then sat down. I had to do something, she said. She lit a cigarette with perfectly manicured fingers and blew out a large, perfectly constructed smoke ring. He's past it. He's been offered nothing in 6 months but Pets in Crisis and the holiday cover for Anthea's Antiques. He doesn't know you're behind this. Of course he doesn't know, she said wearily. He's as thick as 2 short planks, bless him. If he knew the truth, he would have blurted it out weeks ago. I just thought this way we could raise his profile, make him exciting again. You know, relevant. I stared at her. He's going insane with worry. She narrowed her eyes. I know you think I'm awful, but look, I just got off the phone with his agent. This morning alone we've been offered a slot on Loose Women and 2 exclusives with the Sundays. Best of all, morning telly has come knocking again. It's what he loves. She raised a small smile. I know he's a bit shaken now, but I'll fill the kids in. Once he sees what's come out of it, he'll be absolutely delighted. She exhaled and blew another perfect smoke ring out of the window. Besides, I can't have him under my feet all day, Bella. He drives me nuts. She turned to look at me. What? Her high heel crunched on a stray frazzle. I don't suppose you want a job, I said. I was back in the office by 4. The traffic on the M3 was awful, but I hadn't cared. I'd sung along to a CD, I'd eaten 2 packs of emergency pickled onion Monster Munch, and I'd pondered the subtle complexities of enduring love. It wasn't a subject that came up much in my line of work. Sally Travis and I had talked it out over a further half hour. We'd agreed that @Blonde Becca would disappear as abruptly as she'd arrived. Declan would remain blissfully ignorant. Nobody would be able to pin anything on him, but the faint hint of marital naughtiness would perversely do him no harm with the housewives. And we would place a 4-page spread in the next edition of OK. Declan and Sally Travis, stronger than ever before after 20 years of marriage. The wives would read it out of sympathy for Sally. The husbands would leaf through with a flicker of envy that the old dog still had it. I'd called a contact at the magazine and they were totally up for it. That fee alone would cover Frank Digger Associates' expenses. I walked straight into Frank's office without knocking and I sat down on the leather sofa. You can tell Declan that Becca is no longer a problem. All he has to do is to sit back and watch those career offers roll in. I crossed my feet on his glass coffee table with an air of studied nonchalance. It took me a few minutes to realise that he didn't look happy. What? Have you not listened to your flipping radio? No, I said, it's busted. Why? Frank put his head in his hands. I couldn't stop him. Stop him from what? I said. Frank, I don't understand what's going on. I couldn't stop him from speaking out. Frank shook his head in disgust. You were right all along, Bella. Declan Travis has just gone on telly and admitted to a 3-year affair with his ruddy make-up girl. The end. I hope you enjoyed that one. And thank you very much indeed for staying with me this evening. And I hope you'll be able to join me next Saturday evening when we'll have another short story. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and look after each other. I'll see you soon.